All right, so we got part 2 here. Part 2, Tony Robbins, Unleash the Power Within review. So next point, when you feel fear or anxiety or any other emotion that you don't want to feel, it means you have to interrupt the pattern as soon as you feel this. So what that means is, for example, he goes deeper into this, obviously, it's just one note of it. But for me, so what that means is, let's say, for example, I'm in a setting where I feel, let's say I feel some anxiety or I feel some fear. Immediately when I feel that in my body, I think to myself, like, this is amazing, I'm growing. And like, I immediately interrupt that pattern of negative feelings and change it to something like, because when you feel that, like, it's called eustress. When you feel this eustress in your body, eustress is when you feel like slight anxiety or fear, like you have some sort of, it means you're growing. You don't want to experience de-stress. De-stress is when you're just so overwhelmed by fear and anxiety that you're like kind of paralyzed. You don't want to put yourself in a de-stressful situation. You want to progressively expose yourself to anxiety and fear, and that's called eustress. And as soon as you feel that eustress, just kind of like just own it, just feel it, and don't try and get rid of that. Embrace the feeling of being anxious or stressed in that moment. Embrace it, like accept it with open arms. And don't pretend like you shouldn't have that feeling. Like the feeling is good for you. So this is a mind frame that Tony kind of instills in us in this seminar. We're gonna get deeper into that in a second. Next one, do not go into your head. Tony Robbins says, get in your head and you're dead. So what does he mean by this? He means negative self-talk or bullshit rationalizations you make in your mind that make you want to second guess yourself. So let me give you an example here. For the guys, let's say you're at a bar and you're about to approach a girl, and then instead of actually just doing it, you start like talking in your head. You're like, yeah, but what if she, says no? What if I'm gonna be embarrassed? What if my feelings get hurt? What if my identity gets hurt because like she rejects me and I feel less about myself and like blah, blah, all the bullshit that you go through inside your mind. Or like, let's say if you have to give a presentation at work, you're like, oh, you get in your head in a sense like, what if it goes terrible? What if they think I'm a fool? What if I can't portray my ideas well? Stop it. Just get rid of the nonsense. Just stay in the present moment and stop trying to make things worse than they actually are. The next thing. So this is a lot of the seminar is the 6 human needs he talks about. So Tony's worked with millions of people, and he says he'd be a fool to not notice patterns in people when he's working with them. So these are the 6 human needs for him. So listen to these 6 and see which one is the primary 1 or 2 for you. Usually people have a primary 2. Think about which ones are the primary 2 for you. So the 6 human needs are certainty, which means you want like security, or you want to be sure, you want to have control of things happening in your life. You want to know what's happening. Next one is uncertainty, which means like you embrace the uncertainty where you don't know what's going to happen. You have no idea where your life's going to go. You're vulnerable. Next one is significance. Significance is very straightforward. Obviously, I don't have to mention that. It's a feeling of significance that you want to have. Number 4 is love/connection. This could be love with a significant other or friends that you're connecting with and building a bond with. So far you kind of have in mind like which one kind of resonates with you. Next one is growth, growing as a human, as a person. And the next one and last one is contribution. So I'll repeat the 6 again. Certainty, uncertainty, significance, love, connection, growth, and contribution. Which two are your primary needs? And Tony goes on to say, pause this video and decide which two they are. Pause it for a second. Which two are your primary ones? And then he goes on to say that if any of your two are certainty or significance, those are the two most toxic needs. And he says, because certainty is basically the opposite of growth. That means you don't really want to change. You want to be certain. You want to stay secure. And it's boring. It leads to a boring life if you're certain all the time. Like, you want some uncertainty in your life. He preaches this, that uncertainty is way better than certainty. And the next one that's toxic is significance. Can be toxic if you're comparing, because if you have this need to feel significance, you're gonna be comparing yourself to others and try to be significant or unique in any way that you can, and you're always gonna be kind of with this measuring stick of just comparing yourself and comparing your significance and be like, I'm more important than this person and this and that. It becomes toxic. So he says, if you can try to stay away from those two needs, if those are your two needs right now, that's totally fine, because you can change those and just realize that you don't want certainty in your life and you don't want significance. Like, you don't have to be a significant person in order to feel amazing about yourself. You can do these other things. Be uncertain, have loving connection, growth, and contribution. And then he also says, you can meet the first four needs, which are certainty, uncertainty, significance, and loving connection. Meet all four of them, but not be fulfilled if you don't meet the most essential needs, the most important needs, which are by far growth and contribution. So growth, you can use growth for anything. It could be just any sort of thing that you're making progress for in your life. Like, let's say you're reading books, you're growing by doing that. You're taking a certain class, you're growing, you're making more friends, you're growing. Anything can be growing, making progress in your life. And then contribution is some sense of contributing to society, whether that be you're donating money, you're donating your time, you're helping people in whichever way that you can. Like, for example, like I myself am contributing here, making a YouTube video about what I learned about the Unleash the Power Within seminar for Tony Robbins here. So contributing, like giving a helping hand to people that you see that are having trouble. Like, you can contribute in many, many different ways. And these are the two things that are most important in your happiness and being fulfilled. Next one, progress equals happiness for Tony Robbins. It's funny because I made a video a week ago about that. You can't associate one specific word with happiness. And this is a very general word, but this is something Tony truly believes, that progress equals happiness. If you're progressing in your life, it doesn't even have to be actual progress, as long as it's perceived progress. If you feel like you're progressing in your life, you're gonna start to feel happy. And if you're not growing, then you're dying on the inside. That's what he says. He said you need to make continuous progress in your life in order to really feel alive and excited about life. That's the way you're gonna feel alive. You're gonna wanna wake up in the mornings when you're progressing, when you're making progress in your life. And if you're not making progress, if you hit a point, even if you've achieved a lot in your life, if you get to a point where you're not making progress and you're kind of at this standstill, you're gonna start to feel like you're dying on the inside. You're really gonna start to feel like you're dying on the inside. And this is why some, celebrities and stuff like, Robin Williams, like they kill themselves because they get to a point where they're just like, they achieved all these things, but then they just stop growing. They're just like, yeah, like, is this it? Is that it? And to the wise man, it's never it. There's always another mountain to climb as far as making progress to your character as a human being, to your life, to your lifestyle. So there's always another step. Next one. If you don't do it, then you don't know it. There is no exception to this. So an example is if you know all the positive things associated with meditating or going to the gym. Use those two, for example. They're the two most basic ones. If you know all the positive things associated with meditating and going to the gym, but you don't practice it daily or consistently, then you know absolutely nothing about it. You understand the concept of it, but you don't know it. So many people, they can like recite to you all the positive things about meditating, going to the gym. Oh, it's so good. It's this, it's that. And then they don't do it. It doesn't make any sense. Like, this goes back to knowledge is only potential power. It's only when you use the knowledge and you put it into action when it becomes power. If you have knowledge that's not being put into action and being practiced on a daily or consistent basis, then your knowledge basically doesn't mean anything. I mean, you're not doing anything with it, so there's no sense to it. The next thing, the only thing between you and making progress is some sort of fear. Face the fear, embrace it, dive head first into it, and make unstoppable progress. So there's something for everyone. Everyone has some kind of fear that's holding them back from taking them to the next level. You want to just go, like when I heard this, the first thing that came to my mind, I'm sure something comes to your mind. Everyone watching this, there's something that comes to your mind. The first thing that came to my mind was my fear of public speaking, and being in like the center of attention in like a huge social gathering. So that's the first thing that came to my mind, and I started realizing, like, yeah, I have to dive in head first and attack this fear. And that is why I joined the Toastmasters and improv class, and now I'm on improv level B, which feels fucking amazing. Just going through and graduating level A. I just graduated a week ago. So just really understanding that you have this fear, but never avoiding it, and having incremental exposure to attacking the fear and embracing it and accepting it and overcoming it eventually. So the next thing is 3 steps to changing are, and this is changing something about yourself, whether you want to change someone else or you're trying to change yourself. There are 3 steps to doing it. First step, get the person that you want to change, can be yourself or anyone, to believe or associate that if they don't change now, they will have immediate, unbearable pain. So if you don't change right now, you're going to feel immediate, unbearable pain. Second thing, get the person to believe, associate that changing now will have massive, immediate pleasure. Immediate pleasure. So changing right now will make you feel better immediately. You got to get the person to associate this, whether it's yourself or someone else. Ask them questions, get them to dig deep. Like, why is not changing going to cause you pain? And why will changing right this second cause you immediate pleasure? Last thing, the third thing about the changing, replace your old habit or pattern with a new, more empowering habit or pattern. For example, studying your craft or reading a book as opposed to watching a TV show, right? That's one super basic example. Like, some people want to watch Netflix for 3 hours a day. What if you read books for 3 hours a day instead of that? Changing that behavior out. And there's going to be a part 3 to this video, and I'll see you guys in part 3.